So we start with your stories and then I start with mine. So Hitakshi, you're going to read first. Hitakshi? Who's going to read first? Tell me quick. Hitakshi? Bhavik? Okay. I'll unmute you. Okay, start with your story.
The name of my story is The Trip of Adventureland. Four friends Rahul, Saurav, Shreya and Sunny plan to go to Adventureland on Sunday. They take permission from their parents on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. They met at bus stop and catch bus to go to Adventureland. Finally, they reach the Adventureland. Rahul said, "Hey guys, can we go to Horn House?" Sunny said, "Yes." But Shreya and Saurav said, "But we want to go Dinosaur House." Rahul said, "Okay, I and Saurav will go to Horn House and you and Sunny will go to the Dinosaur House." So they all went to their favorite places and Rahul and Saurav saw fake witches, Dracula's bat, etc. And Sunny and Shreya saw dinosaurs and they take ride of dinosaurs and enjoy it. At last they all go to Commander Net and cross the net and catch bus at 7 p.m. in the evening to go back at the home and went home.
Good. And next is Hitakshi. Okay. You unmute yourself from your side. I am trying to do it.
Can I start now?
Yes. Start, Sakshi.
Once in deep forest, there lived an owl in the hollow of a tree. He hunted for food at night and slept during the day. One day, while he was sleeping, he was woke up by the loud singing of a grasshopper, who was hopping merrily nearby him. The sleepy owl requested the grasshopper to stop singing. The grasshopper paid no attention to the owl and started singing even more louder than before. At last, the owl decided to teach the grasshopper a lesson. "You have been singing for so long," said the owl to the grasshopper. "You must be thirsty. I have a bottle of sweet nectar. Come inside and have some delicious drink. It will make your voice even more melodious." The grasshopper was indeed thirsty. He was hopping up to the owl. The owl caught the grasshopper and crushed him to death. Moral of the story is, flattery is not a proof for admiration.
Good. Gianna, I'll unmute you now. Okay? Okay. Start with your story.
So the name of my story is Fairies and the Children. Once there lived a good fairy. She loved to see children playing in the park. She used to go to different parks and was excited to see many children. At night, she used to go to children's home and give them cupcakes. One day she goes to the park and she feels that something is missing. Then she could not make out that what was missing in this park. Then she goes back and comes next day to the park and she knows what was missing. The true friendship was missing. Then she goes to the children and asks, "Why Are you not true friends? She tells the children true friendship is very important. If we are in difficulties, we can help each other. We can share things with each other. The children agreed to the fairy and became true friends and helped each other. Then they live happily ever after. Moral, always be true friends. Thank you.
Very good. So next, who wants to read the story? Sakshi? Okay. Okay, start with your story, Sakshi.
Okay, ma'am. The name of my story is Arjun Learns a Lesson. Arjun was a student of class second. Whenever he saw anything new with any of his classmates, he wanted to have it. He stole pens, pencils, crayons, and other things. He also likes to steal food from his classmates' lunch boxes. He often opened their bags when they were not around and took whatever he liked. Very soon, stealing became his habit. This worried his parents and classmates. One day, his classmates decided to teach him a lesson. They bought a small piece of cake from the market. They filled the inside of the cake with lots of chili powder. This cake was put in one of the lunch boxes. When his classmates had gone to play in the playground, he stayed behind. He opened the lunch boxes and found a cake in one of them. The moment he ate the cake, he shouted, "Water, water, please give me water, please help me." His classmates were hiding outside. They were watching poor Arjun. Together, they shouted at Arjun, "This will teach you a lesson. Now you will stop stealing things from other children's bag." Their teacher, Miss Daisy, also heard a lot of noise from the class. When she saw what was happening, she said to Arjun, "See what happens when you steal. All your friends knew that it was you who stole things. Now you are caught red-handed." She then gave him a toffee. Arjun felt ashamed. He had been caught stealing. He said, "I am sorry. In future, I shall not steal. I promise you that." The moral of the story is stealing is a bad habit. A thief harms other people. On the other hand, an honest person helps others. A society grow only if all persons are honest. Thank you.
Good. Paras, start with your story.
My name is Paru. I live in third C. My story name is The Goose with the Golden Egg. Once upon a time, a man and his wife had the good run to have a goose, a goose which laid a golden every one day. Lucky for they were they soon began to think they were not getting rich fast and they engineered that if the bird crumble into a golden egg. Its insiders must be made of golden golden egg. Food that's all that precious medals at once. They realize that mildly reach very soon. So the man and his wife decided to part the bird. However, upon cutting the goose open, they were so shocked to find that its innards were goose. Moral of the story is think before you act.
And who's
Thank you,
made this drawing? The sheet you are holding, who made it?
ma'am. कहते किसने ड्राइंग बनाई? Ma'am, I am.
You made it?
Ma'am, my name is.
Show it to all your friends now. Can you all see? See. Beta, you have to unmute yourself from your side. Prab Simran? Haan.
Yes, ma'am.
Start with your story now.
Okay, ma'am. My name is Prab Simran. I'm from class 4th A. Today I'm going to read a story about a man, Ramu. Once there lived a man named Ramu with his family. He also had a younger brother named Sham. Sham was very honest. Meena was very cruel to her sister. Meena told Ramu to buy a separate house. One day, one sparrow came to Sham's house. It was shouting with pain. Then Sham helped it. After some hours passed, the sparrow flew away. The next day, the sparrow came with some pumpkin seeds and it gave them to Sham. He dumped the seed into the soil and the next day he saw that the seeds were ready. He was shocked. Then when he cut the pumpkin for cooking, he saw that in the pumpkin the gold coins were shining brightly. He was surprised. He called out Radha and narrated her whole story. Next day, he sold the gold coins and get the handsome amount. Sham and Radha were so very happy. The next day, Ramu visited his brothers and Sham told everything about the sparrow and the magical pumpkin. Later, Ramu told this all to Radha. His wife told him to break the sparrow's leg, and the sparrow will fly and come to our house. The next day, Ramu broke the sparrow's leg. The sparrow was crying with pain. She came to Ramu's house. Ramu and his wife helped it, and the next day Sparrow came again with some pumpkin seeds. Ramu also dumped the seeds into the soil. The next day the pumpkins were ready. He cut the pumpkin and it burst. He and his wife left crying with fear. The moral of the story is we should never be greedy and we should not hurt any living being.
Yes.
Remember, God is watching everything and accordingly the rewards are rewarded. Thank you.
Very nice. Sashwat, start with your story.
The story's name is The Golden Touch.
Okay.
Once upon a time, there lived a king. His name was King Madras.
शाश्वत अब बेटा अपना कैमरा ठीक करो.
He was sad because he wanted to have more money. One day he was counting his gold. One fairy came to his window and said, "Why are you so sad?" The king said, "I want more gold." The fairy said, "I will be, you wish me, and I will give you anything." The king said, "Give like that, you give me a magic that I can touch anything that will become gold." Then the fairy gave him a magic like that. Then the king Madras tested. The king Madras, there was a pencil, he touched it and it turned to a gold. Then he wore a beautiful brown color coat. Then he touched it, it became to gold. It then the Madras wear it and go downstairs. When King Madras touched the railing of his stairs home, the King Madras touched it, it turned to gold. Then he go to his dining room and touch anything, it become to gold like bottle, cup, food. He turned, he have a young daughter called uh, Nitya. Uh, then he there was her bowl, blue color bowl. She loved it very much. Then he King Madras think, if I turn it to gold, my daughter will so happy. Then he turned it to gold. When he touched, then his daughter come from outside and said, "What is, where is my bowl?" The king Madras said, "This is your bowl, but it is of gold. My bowl is in blue color." Then the king Madras was sad because his daughter was very sad because her favorite bowl was very much made up of gold, and he he went again go to the fairy. Then he tell what was happened. Then the fairy said, "Go and bathe in the river's water, and what you touch the thing, and then put the river's water in it. Then it will turn into the normal mode." Then he do that the fairy tell him. Then they both live happily, and the moral of the story is there are many things of beautifully natural and not made up of gold. There are important things of gold, no, beautiful of.
So today's story is Hansel and Gretel. सुनी हुई है किसी ने? Okay, we start with the story, right? Once upon a time, near a forest lived a poor woodcutter with his wife and two children, a son Hansel and a daughter Gretel. They were poor but a happy family. So once upon a time, एक विलेज में एक बहुत पुअर वुड कटर रहता था. वुड कटर कौन होता है? You know, जो वुड काट के और फिर वो वुड को बेचता है and then he gets money. So he was living with his wife and two children. They were very poor, but they were very happy. When the children were still very young, their mother died. So when the children were very young, their mother died. The woodcutter married again, but he made a bad choice. His new wife was both wicked and selfish. Instead of looking after the children, she made them work the whole day and gave them very little food to eat. See, she made them work and she gave them very little food to eat. उनको खाना भी नहीं देती थी और सारा काम उनसे करवाती थी. Once when a famine fell upon, the woodcutter and his family almost starved. If only I could get rid of these little pests, the stepmother would often think. क्या सोचती थी, अगर मैं इन दोनों को घर से बाहर निकाल दूं तो कितना अच्छा हो जाएगा. Then one day she insisted the woodcutter, "Dear, now we have no choice but to abandon these children into woods." "Oh no, I can't leave my children to perish in the wild," he cried aloud. But the wife gave no peace to her husband. She nagged and nagged and nagged. At last, with a heavy heart, the woodcutter agreed to do so. तो उसने क्या बोला कि हम दो बच्चों को जंगल में जाके छोड़ाते हैं. इनको हमने अपने घर में नहीं रखना. पहले तो वुडकटर मना करता रहा, बट उसने इतना उसकी वाइफ ने तंग किया कि एट लास्ट ही अग्रीड कि ठीक है, जाके बच्चों को हम छोड़ाते हैं. Thus, one morning, they all went out together as usual to gather firewood. After working very hard, both Hansel and Gretel were overcome by tiredness and fell fast asleep on the grass. The woodcutter and the stepmother left them there and went back home. What the stepmother didn't know was the children had overheard the conversation. अब क्या हुआ, वो सारे जंगल में गए. जब बच्चे थक गए, बच्चे सो गए. जैसे ही बच्चे सोए, वुडकटर और जो उसकी वाइफ थी, न्यू वाली गंदी वाली वाइफ थी, वो दोनों बच्चों को छोड़ के फटाफट घर चले गए. सी, Hansel had quietly filled his pocket with pebbles. अब जो Hansel था, he was very smart. उसने उन दोनों की बातें सुन ली थी. उसने अपने पॉकेट में ना पेबल्स रख लिए. पेबल्स क्या होते हैं? छोटे छोटे पत्थर. और वो सारे रास्ते वो पत्थर फेंकता आया और रास्ता बनता गया. जब उन्होंने वापस जाना था तो उसी रास्ते को देख देख के जाते रहे. When Hansel and Gretel woke up, they found themselves alone in the middle of the forest. Gretel, the little girl, at once burst into tears. But Hansel reassured her, "Don't worry, my little sister. We'll find our way home very soon. You just wait and watch." उसने उसको बोला कि तू रो मत, अभी हम अपना रास्ता ढूंढ लेंगे घर जाने का। तो उन्होंने पेबल्स को फॉलो करते गए, जहां जहां पेबल्स फेंके थे उसको फॉलो करते गए और वो घर पहुंच गए, फटाफट वो घर पहुंच गए। He held his little sister's hand and moved forward. In the bright moonlight, he found the track of little pebbles. Following the track slowly and steadily, they came to their father's house. They knocked at the door, and no sooner did the stepmother open it than she began to scold them for having stayed out for so long in the wood. स्टेप मदर ने क्या किया, दरवाजा खोलते ही उनको डांटना शुरू कर दिया कि तुम इतनी देर तक वहां क्या कर रहे थे वुड्स में, तुम वापस क्यों नहीं आए, तुम फॉरेस्ट में क्या कर रहे थे। But their father greeted them kindly, for he was very sad for his little ones. The stepmother made sure that they leave the children in the woods the second time. Her naggings were so fierce that the poor father could not do anything. अब उन्होंने दोबारा सोचा, उसने बोला नहीं अब दोबारा जाएंगे और इनको फिर से जंगल में छोड़ के आएंगे। This time Hansel quietly dropped the breadcrumbs. अब इस टाइम हेंसल ने क्या किया, पहले तो उसने पत्थर फेंके थे रास्ते के लिए, अब उसने ब्रेड फेंकी। सारे रास्ते वो थोड़ी थोड़ी ब्रेड फेंकता गया, ये सोच के कि रात को जब हम उठेंगे इसी ब्रेड को देख देख के हम घर वापस पहुंच जाएंगे। When the children woke up, it was pitch dark and dim moonlight. Scared, Gretel cried aloud. देख के बहुत डर गए, इतना डार्क था, फॉरेस्ट था, पूरा जंगल और डार्क, और बहुत डर गए। Hansel, though scared, assured his little sister. वो कहता है तू डर मत, मैंने जैसे पहले पत्थर फेंके थे ना, अभी ब्रेड फेंकी हुई है, हम फिर से घर पहुंच जाएंगे। अब जब उन्होंने रास्ता देखना शुरू किया तो जितनी बर्ड्स थे वो सारे ब्रेड खा गए थे, उनको रास्ता मिला ही नहीं कि घर कैसे जाएं, कोई रास्ता नहीं था। And now they were scared and hungry and tired. Luckily, deep inside the forest, they spied a lovely little house. उनको फॉरेस्ट में क्या नजर आया, बहुत अच्छा सा घर। They ran towards it, their faces gleaming with joy. They were so happy to see that house. You know why? Because the roof was made of chocolate. उसकी जो रूफ थी घर की वो चॉकलेट की बनी हुई थी, जेम्स, और विंडोज किसके थे, आइसिंग शुगर के। देखो, कैन यू सी दिस हाउस, उसका चॉकलेट का और आइसक्रीम का हाउस बना हुआ था। They were very happy. उन्होंने कहा पहले हम फटाफट थोड़ा सा खा लेते हैं। Suddenly they heard a shrill voice coming from inside. Nibble, nibble like a mouse. Who is nibbling at my house? अंदर से उनको आवाज आई कि मेरे घर को कौन खा रहा है। Then at once the door opened and an ugly old woman came out, leaning heavily on a stick. She had nose like a beak and fingers like claws. ये देखो, ऐसी थी वो, देखी। The children got so frightened that they dropped their food and clung to each other. Come in, my dear children, come in and stay with me. Nobody will harm you, said the old woman, pretended to be kind. उनको उसने क्या बोला कि अंदर आओ मेरे घर में, तुम्हें यहाँ कोई कुछ नहीं कहेगा। But she was in fact an evil witch. वो एक बहुत ज्यादा गंदी विच थी, जिसने वो ऐसा घर बनाया था सिर्फ इसलिए कि वहां पे बच्चे आए। And whenever she succeeded in luring them into her power, she would cook them and eat them for supper. वो क्या करती थी, जब बच्चे वहां आते थे बच्चों को पकड़ लेती थी, पहले तो उनको अच्छा अच्छा खाना देती थी, फिर उनको मार के उनको पका के और खा जाती थी। हेंसल एंड ग्रेटल को लगा कि ये तो बहुत अच्छी है। They found the woman to be very kind and loving क्योंकि उसने उनको खाना दिया था। The house could protect them from wild animals, and being tired, they agreed to go in. The witch took them inside and made them eat and rest. तो विच ने क्या किया, उनको अंदर लेके गई, उनको खाना दिया, उनको बोला अब तुम सो जाओ, तुम थके हुए हो। दोनों बहुत खुश हुए कि ये तो बड़ा अच्छा घर है और ये बेटी भी बड़ी अच्छी है। Hansel and Gretel had never eaten such delicacies in their life. उन्होंने कभी इतना अच्छा खाना खाया ही नहीं था, उनको विच ने इतना अच्छा अच्छा खाना दिया। The next morning, when the children woke up, the witch revealed her real self. She pinched Hansel with her cold, hard fingers and said, "You are too lean. When you will become plump, I will eat you." उसको कहती है, तू अभी बहुत पतला है, जब तू मोटा हो जाएगा मैं तब तेरे को खाऊंगी. And then I will do the same with your sister. पहले मैं तेरे को खाऊंगी, फिर मैं तेरी sister को खाऊंगी. Turning to poor Gretel, who was trembling with fear, "Move yourself, you lazy girl. Go and cook something for your brother." उसने उसको बोला, जाओ कुछ बना के लाओ. तुम अच्छा खाना खाओगे तो तुम मोटे होगे, तो मैं तुम्हें खाऊंगी. दोनों बच्चों से बहुत काम करवाती थी. She made them sweep the floor, clean the dishes, wash the clothes, dry them, and even cook the food. बेचारे सारा दिन ये काम करते थे. और जो हेंसल था उसको तो अच्छा अच्छा खाना मिलता था, चिकन और पुडिंग्स और हनी और जैम. क्यों क्यों अच्छा खाना मिलता था? ताकि वो खाए और वो मोटा हो जाए. और मोटा होने पे क्या होना था? विच ने उसको खा जाना था. Hansel, however, played a trick. She always put out a small bone from the meat he had eaten, and the witch, who had poor eyesight, never realized that she was being cheated. वो क्या करती थी, जो वो चिकन खाता था ना, उसमें से बोन निकाल के विच को दिखाती थी कि ये देख इसकी बोन. और विच को लगता था ये हेंसल की बोन है. विच टच करती थी बोन को, कहती थी हाँ अभी तो ये मोटा नहीं हुआ, मैं अभी नहीं इसको खा सकती. फिर वो उसको वही बोन दिखाती थी और विच फिर टच करके देखती थी और कहती थी अभी तो ये मोटा नहीं हुआ, अभी मैं इसको नहीं खा सकती. Even after 4 weeks, Hansel showed no sign of putting on any weight. The witch finally lost her patience and declared, "Fat or thin, it doesn't matter. Tomorrow I will cook him and eat him." उसने क्या बोला कि अब मेरे को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, ये पतला है मोटा है जैसा भी है, tomorrow I'm going to cook him and I will eat him. The next morning, as Gretel lit the fire in the oven, the witch ordered, "Get inside and see if it is hot enough." उसने ना उस फायर लगाई तो विच ने उसको बोला, अंदर चल के देख ये फायर ठीक है, गरम है, तो मैं तेरे भाई को इसमें डालूं और कुक करूं. Gretel ने क्या? "This oven is too small to get in." "Silly goose," shouted the witch. "It's big enough. Even I can get into it. Look." ग्रेटल ने उसको बोला, ये अवन तो बहुत छोटा है, मैं इसके अंदर जाके नहीं देख सकती. विच ने कहा, नहीं नहीं बहुत बड़ा है, देख इसके अंदर तो मैं भी जा सकती हूँ. जैसे ही विच उसके पास गई, ग्रेटल ने उसको पुश किया एंड शी फेल इनटू द फायर. क्या किया उसने? शी pushed the witch into the fire and the witch was killed. And that was the end of the cruel witch. Hansel and Gretel quickly ran away. अब उनको वहां पे क्या मिला विच के घर के अंदर? Jewels, gems, money. उन्होंने सब कुछ इकट्ठा किया और वो अपने घर फटाफट भाग गए. They set off to try and find their way out of the forest. They came to a river but had no idea how to cross it. "There is not even a boat," Gretel sighed. "But look, there's a white duck. And if I ask politely, it will surely help us across." And she asked very humbly, little duck, with wings so white, carry us over. The water's bright." उन्होंने उसको बोला डक को कि तू हमें कैरी कर और हमें अपने घर ले जा, क्योंकि उनको रिवर तो क्रॉस नहीं करनी आती थी. The little duck waddled them up. It carried Gretel first and then Hansel over the other side. After a long, long walk, they finally reached their house. From that moment, the father left his beloved children in the forest. He had not slept a wink. He cried his lungs out. Cursing his wife, he turned her out of the house. When Hansel and Gretel appeared safe and sound on the doorstep, he wept the tears of joy and hugged them. उसने क्या किया? उसने रियलाइज किया कि ये जो वाइफ है मेरी नई वाली, ये तो बड़ी गंदी है, इसने मेरे बच्चे निकाल दिए. तो उसने उसको घर से बाहर निकाल दिया और फिर बेचारा रोता रहा, वेट करता रहा कि मेरे बच्चे कब वापस आएंगे. And finally, when they reached home, he was so happy to see them. और बच्चों ने अपनी पॉकेट्स में से क्या निकाल के दिखाया? pearls, gems, jewelry, money, जो वहां से वो witch के घर से सारा कुछ लेके आए थे. And then they were no longer poor and lived happily ever after. So the father was so happy to see the children. Was it a good story? Did you like it? You all will send me your stories and we will read those stories in the next class. Yes, Sakshi, your story was good. Everybody's story was good. So meet you in the next class and you'll write more stories and you'll read more stories and we'll have a lot of fun. Okay? Stay safe and be happy.